All right, welcome into One of One Sports. So the college football season is over. Well, at the time of this recording, there is one game left happening tonight. But we're doing the reaction filming now, and we're just doing a little quick reaction to what my preseason predictions were. We'll see what I got right, what I got wrong, and just see what we need to improve on in the future. So let's get right into this.
The college football, let's get into it. So to start us off, these are the teams.
All right, so let's see who I had just missing that cut. Okay, so by the way, this is going to be the full top 25, and then these teams missed the cut. So already some pretty brutal predictions. Just starting off, I have three teams that made the playoff at SMU, Boise, and Tennessee. Not even in my top 25. I mean, that's just pretty brutal. And then UCF, Virginia Tech, West Virginia, Maryland. Wow. Maryland was awful. I thought they might make the top 25. And then Louisville, this is about the right range. Same with Iowa. Teams close to making the top 25 weren't quite there. West Virginia, even not too bad. Nebraska's not awful. But the Maryland one is bad. UCS pretty bad. And then obviously it's not great to have three playoff teams not make the top 25.
I have just missing the cut for.
Especially, I was going to say one more thing. When you consider like a team like Indiana and ASU, I know I didn't have ranked. So that's at least 5 teams out of the 12 that I didn't even have in the top 25, let alone in the field.
What the top 25 will look like at the end of the season. So the criteria to Florida, West Virginia, I had both going 8-4 in the Big 12.
Yeah, so having both those teams 8-4, I thought, let me turn this up. I thought the Big 12 was just going to be super balanced. You're going to see a lot of teams with a very similar record.
But I have finishing the season just barely unranked. In the ACC, Louisville and Virginia Tech, I have finishing 8-4, SMU 9-3, but none of which will end.
I mean, that's not a crazy record prediction for SMU. 9-3 is fine.
End up being ranked.
Obviously, 11 was better.
Then I'll come back to Boise State in a second. But in the Big Ten, Maryland and Nebraska, I picked to go 8-4. Iowa as well to go 8-4.
So far off on Maryland, not too far off on Nebraska, and I think Iowa might have actually been correct.
And I think they all just missed the cut. And then Tennessee, I believe, will go 8-4, and they were my first team out. None of the rest of this is any.
All right, so Tennessee being the first team out at 8-4, I'm trying to think because they went 10-2, right? I know I thought they'd lose to Alabama, and I thought they would lose to Oklahoma and NC State. So who did they? So that's 3 more losses I had for them. Well, that means I thought they would win one of the games. Oh yeah, I thought they would have beaten Arkansas. That's what it is. 8-4, 10-2. That's not great.
Any particular order, but Tennessee was my first team out. And then Boise State, I have going 10-2 in the regular season, winning their conference championship to be 11-2, and being the second highest rated group of 5 teams.
Okay, so that's not too bad a prediction. Just one off. I'm pretty sure I probably had them losing to UNLV. And then, you never know how high these group of 5 teams are going to be ranked. So I'm not too mad about the Boise one because it's really just it's one loss difference in a game that was pretty competitive between them and UNLV. Let's go forward.
Getting into the top 25, coming in with the last spot in the top 25.
All right, so Texas A&M. I don't think they finished the year ranked, but 8-4 is spot on for them. North Carolina, I think went 7-5, maybe it was 6-6 though. Clearly off on them. That team just kind of imploded. Mac Brown had to go. Texas Tech, I think I'm only 1 game off, and they had quarterback injuries, so I'm not too mad about that. Oklahoma was just devastated by injuries, ends up going 6-6, and then Oklahoma State just bottomed out. That's crazy to think. Everyone I think, because I'm sure Florida State's going to come up. Everyone knows how bad this season went for Florida State, but it's kind of crazy to think about what happened to Oklahoma State.
Texas A&M, who I have finishing the season 8-4. Then you guys can see I have North Carolina going.
I hope I'm talking with more energy now. This was like one of the first videos I made. It's just so monotone.
9-3, finishing 24th in the country. Same with Texas Tech. They're not ranked in the preseason. 25. Oklahoma, I'm going 8-4, worse than the 9-3 teams, but because their schedule is so difficult and all their losses, so their losses are going to be to, it's going to be Alabama, it's going to be Texas. No, it's not Alabama. I had them beating Alabama.
So I actually had Oklahoma beating Alabama, so that's a good prediction. And to think they actually did that and still were worse than what I had is kind of crazy. Let's move along faster.
Play this year, 20th, 9 and
All
3.
right, let's look at 20 through 16. And yeah, so there's some bad here. I mean, you look at Florida State, USC, and Utah, all pretty bad. The other ones though, Kansas State, I do think ended up going 9-4 after the bowl game, but this was 9-4 assuming they made the conference title and lost it 9-3 without that. So one game off, that's not too bad. Iowa State. My first video on the channel was basically a video explaining that Iowa State was going to be way better this year because of the returning production. And it was kind of like did some statistical analysis on that. So I added like 2 wins from the season before. They actually did even better going 10-2. So I even lowballed them a little bit. Then Utah, I think it's just injuries again, especially Camp Rising. USC, it was just a crazy struggle in one score games. And then Florida State, man, I remember when I made this, I was low on Florida State. A lot of people had them in their playoff, or at least one of their top ACC teams, and I didn't have them really competing for that. Losing to USC and Florida State, I had losing to all I think like ranked teams, and besides that, they were that second tier, and that did not materialize at all. I'm not too mad. I mean, the USC one I think is a little worse. Florida State, kind of everybody got wrong. We'll play it more when we get. Yeah, see. Okay, now we're in the top 15.
Revealing and count back. I have the Miami Hurricanes, who I
Okay, so my number one seed didn't even make the playoff. I'm honestly not that mad about this though. I thought Cam Ward was going to win the Heisman. He came really close, and I thought Miami had a really workable schedule, could win all their games, and I think it was there for them. The Syracuse loss, blowing a 21-0 lead's pretty inexcusable, and then the Georgia Tech loss, you were right there as well. I know they missed the playoff. I'm not too mad about this prediction. I still think like all that I thought could happen was there for them. It's just kind of the defense.
have as the only undefeated team, going 13-0. And I think Cam Ward will potentially win the Heisman. I think they're the most talented team in the ACC.
All true.
Good receivers, O-line, running back, and I think the best quarterback. I think they'll be able to go 13.
You see, the problem there is I list everything and didn't name a single defensive thing, and that really is what held them back.
0 and clinch your Bulldogs.
All right, 2 is Georgia, which is correct in real life. I got the record wrong by 1 game, but this is correct, and so that's pretty good. We go faster.
You're not like Florida State last year. And then I have Oregon coming.
Oregon at 3. So this is a good prediction as well because this means I had them winning the Big Ten. So far we've gotten 2 of the out of the 3 buys correct. So 2 of the conference title champs right. Oregon 12-1. Obviously, it went 13-0. We're the number 1 seed, but that's a pretty good prediction.
3 also 12-1. The Big Ten champions. Also getting a revenge win when I have them facing Michigan in the Big Ten championship.
So that means I had Oregon's regular season loss being to Michigan, which means I predicted Michigan to beat Oregon and be in this playoff because I said revenge, or maybe not in the playoff, but we didn't see them out. They were in the Big Ten title. So yeah, I'm going to have Michigan coming up. I don't remember how high I put them, but that's going to be a bad one.
The only team I have them losing to in the regular season, and over Texas, Oregon over Ohio State. But Georgia's also going to have a win against Ole Miss, which is better than any other win Oregon has on their schedule. 4, surprise team, I have Tulane getting the 4th spot.
So obviously this was wrong, but the reason I'm not, well, I want a little bit of credit because if you look at everyone who's making preseason predictions, no one was predicting the G5 teams in the top 4. Everyone just had that like 12 spot reserved for them. I was really the only one I saw who thought a G5 team could be ahead of a Big 12 champ. I know it ended up being the ACC champ, but I was kind of ahead on that. And Tulane was one of the handful of teams in the mix. It just season kind of collapsed there at the end with the Army game, with the Memphis game as well. But before that, they were in the mix for most of the season. Had a tough one against Kansas State that I thought could have gone their way with better refereeing. And ultimately, I was wrong, but I'm pretty sure there's going to be worse predictions in here.
I have them going 11-1 in the regular season, only 12, which will result in them getting the bye and not the Big 12 champion. So I don't think Tulane's actually would format. They would get the 4th spot and a first round bye. Now at number 5, I have Alabama, who I
Yeah, so this is another one that's not great. I mean, so we're so far we're only 2 for 5 on teams actually making the playoffs. To be fair, Miami and Alabama were a couple of the first teams out, maybe the first 2 teams out actually. 11-2, and they went 9-3. I thought they'd be in the SEC title game. Did not happen. The Oklahoma loss really hurt them. I know I had them beating Georgia in the regular season and losing in a rematch. So I got that game right. But yeah, just this like never in a million years was I going to predict Alabama to lose to Vanderbilt. And the inconsistency this team had this year has made it so unpredictable.
have going 11-1 in the regular season with only a loss to Oklahoma, but then losing in a rematch with Georgia. And and then at 6, I have the Texas Longhorns, who are
All right, so we got a team that's actually in the playoff and only off by 1 spot and going 11-1. So that means I actually predicted it fully
I
correctly.
have going 11-1, same record as Alabama. Alabama would have lost to Oklahoma. Texas would have lost to Georgia.
Yeah. So I had Texas going 11-1 with their only loss being to Georgia, which was correct. But because of the tiebreakers, I had Alabama in the SEC title instead of Texas. But I technically didn't predict any of their regular season games wrong, so I'll call that a win.
It's kind of reverse Alabama. You could have gone either way.
I wonder.
Because I have Alabama making. But it was hard for me to decide who would get the nod there for that 5th spot and play Tulane, which is definitely a very advantageous spot. And if the committee decided that Texas would move ahead of them, that would be a very big make more sense that way. Then coming at 7, I have Michigan.
Ouch. I mean, the last couple games made this not look as bad, pulling off the Ohio State win, beating Alabama in the bowl game. But 11-2, and then beating Oregon. They didn't win that game. I had them beating Ohio State clearly, which they did do. But the Illinois loss, the Washington loss, I didn't see coming. I think there's one more I'm forgetting. I just thought, in my defense, I thought if the quarterback play, which was really what held this team back, was going to be that bad, they would have gone into the portal. Them not going to the portal signified to me they had confidence there. Clearly misplaced for them this year. The offense was just so limited. And as a Michigan fan, that was really frustrating.
As I mentioned, season, but lose to Texas in the regular season because Texas had their season.
All right, at 8, we got okay, so now we're back at 50% because Clemson did make it. They did not go 11-2. They went, what would that be? 9-3, 10-3. So, wait, 10-3, right? Because you lost to Louisville, South Carolina, Georgia. Yeah, so 10-3, so off by 1. I did not have them winning the ACC title here. As you can see, I had Miami winning it, Clemson losing it. Their other loss being to Georgia. Not a terrible prediction, a little high, but right now, I'm getting the playoff team right, I'm taking that. We're shooting 50%.
Lose the ACC championship. So maybe you would want to make a case Ohio State, which you'll see later, and Clemson's best win is probably put them just ahead of Clemson here, but could make a case that Clemson should move up to set whole season and kind of get into the mindset of a committee member
all the
performing its rankings.
Arguments the committee would have.
Then at 9, I have Ohio State.
This is pretty accurate. 10-2, their losses being to Oregon and Michigan, fully correct on the record, and in the 8-9 game, just 1 spot off. And we're now over a 50%. This might be my best prediction yet because I have Georgia in the right spot but wrong record. Oregon, close. Texas might be the best because I have the right record, wrong spot as well. But I didn't have them making the conference title. Ohio State, that might be the best prediction yet.
So I said Michigan's 10-2, losing to number 3 Oregon, number 7 Michigan, and I have them ahead of Penn State.
This one's pretty good though because 11-1 is correct, and I had them lose to Ohio State. It's interesting because when I did this, clearly I thought, okay, Ohio State's gonna have the worst record, but head-to-head plus a better strength of schedule. Surely the committee will recognize that and put Ohio State ahead of Penn State. They don't. Penn State gets the super. I'm not gonna say lucky, but I mean, sort of kind of lucky draw compared to like even what a top team what Oregon got, and that helped them to reach the semis and nearly the national title. Pretty good prediction there. And now we are at 3, 4, 5. Wait, no, yeah, 5, 6. Why can't I count? Oh, I counted Miami. That's why. Georgia, Oregon, Clemson, Texas, Ohio State, Penn State. That means we're at 6 of the 12, but we know we left 3 out plus Indiana and ASU. That's 5, and I haven't seen Notre Dame.
Going 11-1. because although Penn State has the best, and they're but
ouch, 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 ouch. That prediction is brutal. Arizona, I mean, in my defense, they come off a lot of momentum last year. I'm also kind of an Arizona fan, so there's a little bit of bias. A lot of friends there, but Fafita back at quarterback. I thought McMillan was best receiver of the country. I thought the coach could like retaining the players, not having guys transfer like to Tacario Davis, Jacob Manu. They transfer now, but bringing all these guys back. I thought the momentum was going to build. I thought they could win the Big 12. They were awful. The offense was bad. The defense was bad. I'm not sure about the coach. There was just nothing good here. I mean, McMillan was still great, but outside of that, really nothing there. That's definitely I don't know what these final predictions are for certain. I have kind of an idea, but nothing's gonna top that as worst prediction of the video. And I was kind of clouded by a bias there. That's what I'm gonna put it on.
If they weren't a conference champion, Lane 1-1 winning in the conference title. But I think they get the 4 teams under consideration.
All right, so there's one spot available, and let's see. So NC State, I have with 2 losses, so 10-2. They were clearly much worse. Injuries played a part, but also that was just off on that prediction. The offense wasn't as good as I thought it would be. Notre Dame, I have with 3 key wins. It's crazy. That's crazy. FSU not being a key win, and then losses at A&M, Georgia Tech. They won both those games, but lost to Northern Illinois. So also 10-2. Ole Miss, I have 10-2, and they were right around this range, even though they actually went 9-3. And I have LSU correct as loss. They actually beat Georgia though, but still managed to lose 2 more games. And then Missouri 10-2. They actually went 9-3. I got the losses correct, but add in the A&M game, which I thought they would win. So we'll see. Based off these resumes, I think Ole Miss would be out for sure. Missouri probably be ahead of Notre Dame because of the Texas A&M thing based on what I have here. So it'd be between Missouri and NC State's my guess.
And for the final playoff spot,
I took NC
we have
State.
NC State, Notre Dame, North Carolina is being 26, or just missed the cut. And they lost. That's practically solution for just missed.
I should probably pause it when I fast forward, huh? I don't know if the audio has been messing up this whole time. Hopefully not. But yeah, I think I took wow, how long did I go on this? I think I took NC State over Missouri, which is obviously a bad prediction. Yeah. So Ole Miss at 15. I wonder because Alabama would have been Ole Miss might have actually been they were probably around this like 14, 15. Notre Dame hurts. They might be the national champions. I don't even have them in the playoff. Missouri just not terrible. They end up ranked, and then NC State, yeah, brutal. Nowhere near that. So this was my final bracket. So now we can see these were final rankings. Now we can see the bracket. Clemson, Ohio State. Let's see. Let's just skip to round 2. So Ohio State making the 8-9 game and then advancing. That's what happened in real life. 5-12. I know I'm going to have Alabama. So Alabama advances. They didn't actually make the playoff. Texas beating NC State. So glad I don't have NC State any further. And then let's see what we have here. Michigan. All right. So off this, we had 6 of the right 12 teams in the bracket. Close with Notre Dame, could have been 7. And then in the quarterfinals, Ohio State, Ohio State, Oregon, Texas, Georgia were all really there.
The Michigan and Ohio State. Now moving on to the second round of the playoff, we'll start with Miami. Have to play in solid.
So in real life, Ohio State was in this game and upset the 1 seed. Let's see if I did. Oh, okay. Spoilers, but I'm pretty sure we knew I was going to take Alabama over Tulane. And we get Ohio State right, advancing from the 8-9 game to the semis. So far, I've just nailed Ohio State's season. Oregon, Texas.
These teams are very evenly matched across the board. I think both there defensively, like overtime or game-winning field goal, something like that. I think.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be tight. I go Oregon, I go Georgia. I'm glad I didn't have Michigan advancing any further. I know Georgia didn't make this round, but that would have been rough. And I know Oregon also didn't make this round, so would have been better if I picked Texas there. But now let's see.
Offense will be even to move the ball well enough with whoever their quarterback is. I think Georgia advances to the semis. Next up, we have Ohio State, Alabama. And what kind of came down to giving me the pick here, because I think these teams are very evenly matched, is Alabama. I think will have played 2 really easy games defeating Arizona and
Arizona and
Tulane
Tulane.
that I don't think will be close, and their
Yeah.
players.
So even now, I was like, even based off this, it was clear, like just off these predictions, that the 5 seed was going to have a huge benefit in this format. So I go with Alabama.
Oregon versus Georgia. If he wins, we'll get another chance to play Bama for a third time this year.
I think I know I took.
And to be honest, when I'm making this pick,
Yeah.
Is it so hard? I think perimeter, but
I didn't want to predict. I'd already predicted Alabama Georgia play twice. I didn't want to predict Alabama Georgia part 3. And now, because when I initially sat down, I thought Oregon Georgia was going to be my title, but the way the bracket ended up falling, they were in the semis. It couldn't be the final, and so I know who I end up picking here.
I'm a final because where we'll have.
I came into this thinking Oregon was going to be my pick.
Both, I think Oregon's better receivers, but I think by the end of the Kalen DeBoer was able to outcoach Dan Lanning, especially in the conference.
So I came into this thinking I was going to pick Oregon over Georgia for the national title. The way the bracket fell, it ended up having Alabama advance there, who I didn't think I was going to predict to make the title. And then once it was Kalen DeBoer, Dan Lanning, I had to go Kalen DeBoer. So I picked Alabama to win the national title. Oregon obviously didn't get here, but that would have been a fine pick with them being the #1 overall seed. Alabama didn't even make the bracket. So, I mean, this was pretty rough. 6 out of 12 playoff teams, not horrible. Close with Notre Dame. But yeah, leaving 5 teams out of the top 25 is rough. Then our national champion not making the bracket is rough. Um, Certainly, I think this next season, I expect to do much better, and hopefully my national champion can at least make the college football playoff. Let me know, what do you guys think of my preseason predictions? Did you guys do anything like this? Do you remember what you got right, what you got wrong? Leave it all in the comments down below. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to help me grow the channel. Until next time.